Hey everyone, my name's Dylan Terry, and me and Isaac are going to be going over Wag the Dog and Bulworth. Just to get started on some outside information on the two movies, the term wag the dog is commonly used to distract attention away from a political scandal, often through military action as portrayed in the movie. As for Bulworth, pulling a Bulworth is when a candidate speaks their mind and does not care what the media thinks. Just to refresh your memory, Wag the Dog starts during a re-election campaign for the president just days away from the upcoming election. The president is accused of sexual misconduct scandal involving a Firefly girl and putting his re-election campaign in jeopardy. The rest of the film centers on a team of political insiders trying to fix the situation so the president will be re-elected. The campaign calls in a professional spin doctor of sorts named Conrad Breen. Breen and his team devise an elaborate plan that includes a fake war and later on, a fake war hero in order to divert attention away from the political scandal. The team utilizes numerous instruments such as made-up newsreels, songs, and movements in order to drum up support for the war and in effect the president and his re-election campaign. The movie closes off showing the inevitable consequences if they choose to reveal what they have done, as shown by producer Moss being taken away by the Secret Service and most likely being killed. Furthermore, in the film Bulworth, set in March of 1996, Californian Senator Jay Bulworth is suffering from insomnia and depression and contracts to have himself assassinated within 2 days to capitalize on an insurance policy. In his depressive state, Bulworth begins to freely speak his mind at public events knowing that his death is imminent. His behavior reinvigorates his campaign and makes him a media sensation. During this time, he begins to be influenced by inner city groups through a series of encounters and begins to empathize and understand the issues their community faces while simultaneously still being hunted down. When he finds out his lover, Nina, is an assassin, is set out to kill him, that she will no longer go through with it because she has fallen in love with him, he sleeps for the first time in days and continues through election day. Bulworth ends up winning the primary election by a landslide. Towards the end of the film, Bulworth is shot after accepting a campaign for the presidency, presumably by an agent of an insurance company.
Alright, hey guys, it's Isaac here. I'm gonna have an alarm going off in my background, so you're just gonna have to ignore that because I don't have a replacement battery yet. But I'm presenting slides 5 through 8. This is our movie comparison for controlled media versus media in control. And so in Wag the Dog, which, that's the better of the two movies, let's just face it, Conrad Breen is able to, as a spin doctor, fabricate news throughout the entire film and sort of just, he creates the whole fake Albanian war and he disperses secrets, quote unquote, to the press who then report them immediately. And meanwhile, Bulworth's team, the news is constantly complaining that they need access and they're not really like looking into why Bulworth is doing his actions. They're sort of waiting until they come to them, they come to the press, because he leaves that news team in the beginning who are doing a like sort of systematic, very easy recording job, and then we never hear from them again, like after halfway through the movie. But meanwhile, in All the President's Men, we saw that's over the Watergate scandal. They're doing investigative journalism. They're in control. They're acting as sort of that fourth branch of government that we talked about earlier in class, and they're unveiling the secrets. They're questioning the people. They're sort of leading, and they're deciding what ends up in the news versus the political machine deciding what ends up in the news. Themes in both movies: the theme of where power lies and who's in control, satire, and it, if it creates cynicism, which we discussed in our discussion post. I read a lot of them, and how, we seem to all agree, at least in my group, that satire opens the door to a lot of political trends. I'm sorry that I can't have a full discussion in class with you right now, but that's just the way it's got to be. And the theme of the ends justify the means. So Bulworth sort of is sacrificing his career, and Conrad is able to sacrifice life, and he's able to have that sort of war with Albanian terrorists at the end of the movie, but they're able to keep their president in power, or they're able to expose the truth and live freely like Bulworth does. In Bulworth, there's clearly the theme of freedom, He's free of all the social implications that he has, all the lies he has to keep. He's free of the insurance company's grasp. Uh, there's unveiling the curtain, and that's again with the insurance companies. He has that rap at the dinner in the beginning of the movie. Well, more like a quarter of the way through the movie, where he basically calls out all the insurance companies and says, like, the rich are making themselves richer. The poor don't matter. And he's sort of calling out, and he later, when he talks to the gangster and he goes to his TV press, he unveils yet again that if they want to make change, they need to talk to the people who are not politically in control. And then I thought of the theme of clarity and chaos. It's sort of like the method to my madness talk. Um, Basically, you're so insane to the point that you have reached a new level of sanity, I guess is how I would explain it. He is so sleep deprived that he is reaching epiphany after epiphany on his journey away from a hitman. Wag the Dog themes are conspiracy. I went through the movie, you could see in my discussion post. Basically, you don't know what could be true. And they sort of showed, like, the audience who are watching, hey, maybe we should be more careful about what we're listening to. And that goes in with manipulation and puppeteering of the masses or even of individuals, how he talks to the CIA agent and sort of is like, hey, you have to listen to me because I decide. And that goes in with the media influence with the TV deciding the truth. There are numerous times where he says, yeah, there's an Albanian conflict. I saw it on TV. And so he's able to steer this big huddled mass. It's sort of like the old talk of sheep being led to the slaughter just because people aren't watching it and they're not being careful. Some discussion questions. What does it mean to be a spirit, not a ghost? So the homeless man says that to Bulworth on numerous occasions. Uh, I imagined it as you're not dead and gone like a ghost. His residual spirit sort of guides. So he needed to guide people, and that's why he needed the song. He needed something that people can relate to so that he could get the message out and not just be forgotten like a ghost. The differences between the political team and Wag the Dog and Bulworth. Bulworth's team is sort of left behind in the dust. They have to like follow him around. He's the political candidate. They got to listen to him. Whereas in Wag the Dog, Conrad Breen and Mott's the producer, they're leading the show. They're telling the president how to do it. They're coaching him how to be better and remove the scandal. Did TV destroy the electoral process, as stated in Wag the Dog? So they state this, I believe, about maybe like 4/6 of the way through the movie, and how basically TV decides who's going to win. And if they can control the TV, or are they controlling the election? Doesn't even matter to have an electoral process. What role did music play in the movies? This is really focused on uh, Bulworth and the inspirational songs in Wag the Dog. And I remember just listening to the Wag the Dog music. I'm going to be perfectly honest. It sounded pretty good. I was sitting there watching it with my friend. I'm like, this is some nice patriotic American music, and it's all manufactured and faked. Whereas Bulworth's rap sort of cuts down to the streets and the American public and what they can do, and how like it's sort of like this divide between music being used to control us and music being used to, I guess, enlighten us. Do the rich cater to the rich in politics? This isn't Bulworth. That was at the charity scene again, and basically that's sort of him saying like, do the public people even have a voice? Are the insurance companies and lobbyists helping the senators, who in turn help the lobbyists, and back and forth for money? Are political candidates and their campaigns just a show for the public to watch? So that's sort of like our image talk that we had earlier in the year. Uh, does anybody even pay attention to what they're saying? Does it matter what they're saying? Are we just selling an image? Conrad Breen makes the image of an American hero, and the CIA, or if anybody looked into it, they'd see there's no Albanian conflict. They'd see that the image of the president isn't what it actually is because he had a sexual scandal with the Firefly Scout. So, is there any real substance behind the categories? I think there is, because while we're being sold an image, it's an image based on an idea, and that idea is something that we can get to if we want, if we look into it behind the image. But I'll be looking forward to what you guys are saying on the Google Docs after you watch the presentation. Do you think Wag the Dog is more important for its message now than right after it released? Why or why not? Basically, right after it released, there was another Clinton scandal, and Wag the Dog was sort of like telling everybody to watch their politics, and it wasn't like taken into good faith at the time. Nobody really cared. It had great critical reviews, but it wasn't good with the public. I guess it didn't make a lot of money. And watching it now, I mean, I see the same maybe issues. There's like scandals. There's stuff going on currently, and throughout my life, there's been like military campaigns and stuff like that that could have been just fabricated or most likely not, but used to distract away from what's happening in the presidency or a senator or anything like that. So I think, if anything, it is just as important as when the movie came out, and that, if anything, since us in college were entering the world of politics, I think it should be at least a bit more important to us to realize what's going on behind the scenes. And then we talked about this in the discussion board. Does comedy have a place in politics? If so, how much? And if not, then why? I personally think it does, simply because I think there can really be comedy about almost anything. Comedy opens the doors to criticism in ways that a serious talk or drama cannot. Because if you're able to make light of something, then there has to be fault within it inherently. So if comedy can't exist about it, I think then that means that we have critiques, and those critiques have merit. I thank you for taking the time to watch the presentation. I hope you all stay safe out there, and I look forward to maybe seeing some of you next semester.